What's going on, boxing fans? Julian Williams here at the distance. Got a video for you guys. Celestino Caballero. People may have seen, or heard about the interview in one article I read today on Eastside Boxing. Why should I have problems feeding my family because I'm too good? That's the title of the article that I've read, and I'm just gonna give my opinion. One thing that, and take this into consideration, at super bantamweight, Celestino Caballero held 2 championships, defeated two good fighters, Daniel Ponce de Leon and Steve Molder, and he still was not able to get the fight that he wanted, or a fight that he thought he deserved, which was against Juan Manuel Lopez. So Juan Manuel Lopez moves up, and this is the thing. A lot of fight fans, especially the hardcore fans, have wanted to see this Lopez Caballero fight since, I believe, November of 2008, when Caballero knocked out Steve Molder in like 4 rounds. And there's quite a few people in the forums and stuff, and not to say that the people in the forums opinions pretty much help bring fights happen, but a lot of people have been wanting this fight to happen, especially hardcore fans such as myself. I've been wanting to see this fight. So Lopez, after the fight with Imtagwe, moves up to 126 pounds, and then Caballero moves up to 126 pounds and defeats Dal Jordan, and now he's left without a fight. See, the fight I believe I want to see Caballero in is against Yuri Ortiz Gamboa. I want to see how Gamboa does against Caballero. I would like to see that specific fight. And politics in the sport of boxing are horrible. Politics are horrible in the sport, because this is the problem with the governing bodies, and this is why I think there's too many belts floating around. My problem with governing bodies is that sometimes when you're a champion, for WBO, WBA, IBF, WBC, then pretty much you hold a championship and you're a titleist. And really, you don't have to fight anybody else but people that are ranked in that organization. Whether these people have to fight to get their rank, or whether or not the rank is computerized, who knows? But there's been a lot of corruption in those organizations, and it's been proven that there's corruption in those organizations. Now, there's corruption in pretty much in everything. There's always going to be corruption, and especially in boxing. And politics is something that's going to be is pretty much in everything. Politics is in everything, and in actuality, Juan Manuel Lopez and Yuri Ortiz Gamboa both don't really have to fight Celestino Caballero unless he's ranked by one of the organizations. And if he holds a championship in another say he holds a featherweight championship in another organization, then he would have to wait until one of the guys possibly loses their championships just to fight him, or somebody would have to vacate their title if they wanted to fight against them. And that's just the problem in the sports. And I think sanctioning bodies and promoters, are pretty much reasons that this fight hasn't really happened. And something that really gets me about the sport is sometimes in the sport, it's all about who's promoting you. Who's your promoter. And despite the fact that Caballero has had some significant wins over the last couple years, Molder and Jordan, he still can't secure a big fight in a very good division. In the featherweight division, it's very sad to hear that Caballero has trouble feeding his family because he can't get a fight that I believe he rightfully deserves. he deserves to fight Juan Manuel Lopez. He deserves to fight a Yorikis Gamboa or even a Chris John. At least Chris John. At least, who's like the longest reigning champion in the division. Or Rojas, Elio Rojas. Someone of that nature. I believe he deserves those fights. And it's been around for a long time. 34-2. He's been around. And don't get me wrong, he just moved up to featherweight. He did just move up to that weight, but he'd be a solid fighter. And Jordan, he'd be a solid fighter, and I believe he deserves a matchup against Lopez or Gamboa. And I think that Caballero, who even went as far as to call out Lopez on YouTube through a video, who went as far as to say all kinds of stuff about Lopez to provoke him. I believe, I just think this is a fight that should happen. And I believe, and it's one of those things to where it's like, if you build it, they will come, like the marketing concept. If this fight would get built up the right way, then the people, the fans, and even more would come see it. But the thing here is, you have a fighter from Puerto Rico and a fighter from Panama, and politics in the sport, there's people out there that's like, and I think one of the problems is possibly Caballero doesn't have the following in the United States that Lopez does. Lopez has a pretty good following out in New York, pretty good base out there, and Caballero I don't think necessarily has that type of following. And at the end of the day, it's like, who has Lopez fought that really has a following? Luevano, Mtagwe, Lachi, whatever his name is. Penalosa has a pretty good following, but Daniel Ponce de Leon, he has a pretty good following. But out of his recent opponents, it's like, who has he faced that has a huge following? And Caballero doesn't necessarily have that huge following, but he has the skill to back up his claims. And not only does he have skill, he kind of poses a threat to Lopez. He kind of poses a threat to Gamboa. So, this is, I believe on paper, and even Rojas, excuse me, I can't count him out, or John. On paper, he's a threat to a lot of fighters. He's a stylistic threat, excuse me, to a lot of fighters in that division. And I think that he deserves a championship shot as much as Concepcion, as much as Rojas, as much as Fernando Saucedo. He deserves a shot more than a lot of these guys that they're fighting. If not the same. I believe that Celestino Caballero deserves a shot at the featherweight championship. Maybe sometime this year, I think, hopefully, this year, early next year, I think he deserves that shot. But Caballero just needs to continue fighting. I think he needs to continue fighting and build up his name a little bit more. And I think he'll get that, and he'll get that fight, despite the fact that he is a name. And he has been fighting a while. And he has shown pretty good ability in the ring. I think he deserves that shot. So, anyway, that was The Distance. Thanks for watching. Peace.